Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy channel. My name is Jed. We have been exploring the nature of human problems, how they manifest within individuals, how they manifest within the society we live in, and how that may even be reflected within the cosmos as a whole. How curious. What would that be? We've been reflecting on the fact that all problems are solvable in principle. Not only are our problems solvable, but our highest excellence is also understandable and achievable. Wow, isn't that great? So another way of saying that is we live in an intelligible universe. Intelligible ain't enough, of course, because intelligible means there is a path, a pattern, or a paradigm containing as a whole all of the paths and patterns and forces and principles that play out within our lives, our society, and our cosmos. But that's not enough. For there to be a path, we need to have some sort of guidance to walk that path. That's providence. The highest use of intelligence to guide souls along that intelligible path is providence. There has to be providence in our reality as well as understandability. Now that's also interesting because what we're learning, I've got some hair in my eye, god damn it. What we're also learning is providence would therefore be our highest functioning too as individual souls. Our highest functioning is to function intelligently through understanding, which means our purpose is to move from belief into understanding as a cognitive function. What we've also been reflecting on is those who are most loyal to belief are the least providential, not only the least intelligent, often struggling with things like reason, listening to words, following analogies. These are marks of understanding and intelligence, but also cruel. The people who are most cruel are most opposed to understanding and most tied to their own false beliefs. False beliefs that they themselves might not even suspect that they have. I think it's an eyelash I have in my eye. So isn't that interesting? A movement from belief into understanding, which also comes along with a movement from cruelty or sadism. Sadism, of course, the enjoyment of cruelty. We looked at why that's the case. Okay, I'm gonna have to pause for a second, get this out of my eye. All right, a movement from cruelty to care or empathy. Oh, dear Lord, I'm gonna ignore it. So, and of course, sadism is the specific desire towards and enjoyment of that cruelty. We looked at, Socrates pointed out to us earlier in the text that is because while knowing is an experience, the development of understanding, so we've been talking about the movement from belief, where our human problems lie, to understanding. Understanding allows us to understand the cause of our beliefs, to free ourselves from them, but we can also use understanding to understand the model of understanding itself, that very paradigm of intelligibility that must exist for us to live in an understandable universe. That allows for our perfection of understanding because it's the source and model of understanding itself. Isn't that interesting? Now, that is formally meditation. Why? A sustained, focused, open, curious attention on what exists eternally is meditation. When it pays off and you can join with your object of focus, that's the upgrade from meditation into contemplation. Therefore, understanding can bring about knowledge, which is experienced as a divine luminosity, or ousia, your mind turning around to know itself, also experienced as bliss, but it's the most profound experience that we can have. Now, notice that if belief operates in opposition to both understanding and knowledge, which understanding can point us to and facilitate, there is no possibility for actual knowing in belief. Therefore, what marks a knower? What makes that believer better than that believer? Why should he be bishop or pope or CEO or president if it's all based on belief and no development of understanding within a intelligible paradigm? Cruelty. The ability to have power over others and inflict cruelty on others. Now, fortunately, what's coming to light with the Epstein files is for many, many, many years, there are a class of people who have power over others, billionaires, political officials, religious officials. All those are people who are in belief-based traditions, kings, clergy, CEOs, that rule not because of any inherent understanding or ability to care for others, but through manipulation and exploitation, through ignorance and belief. They seem to spend their free time torturing, abusing, murdering the most poor and vulnerable children. What do you know? Now, what we are seeing is, of course, that's what happens. We don't have to live through that if we have understanding. That's the significance of philosophy for our race. We don't have to let the most terrible sickness, pathologos belief, play out in the most cruel ways, sadism, because we can understand the root cause of it. A surrogate for knowledge because one is bound by belief in opposition to actual knowledge. There's no feeling associated with belief as there is with knowledge. Therefore, whatever feeling they take as a surrogate through inflicting harm on the vulnerable, they take as knowing, therefore they seek it, therefore and enjoy it, and therefore sadism. The military-industrial complex, those who murder people for fun and profit. The billionaire class, who exploit and destroy our world and human beings in it for fun and profit. The political class that seem to be acting always in opposition to what benefits the people. Except for a few. Small, and unfortunately small few. Clergy, same thing. To teach belief as a way of salvation, even though it's the cause of problems and it blocks your actual development. And of course, killing millions and millions of people, subjugating millions and millions of people, and half of the population, if you take into account the extreme sexism within religion, all for, again, pleasure and profit. Completely understandable. But also universal. Not everyone plays it out to the extent those in power do, but potentially we all have a root pathologos belief at the cause of our ignorance and our suffering, because we inflict that same pathologos ignorance upon ourselves. Now, one of the things that keeps us trapped in our suffering is it blocks your development of understanding. Because understanding, as we just said, is the way out. It's the way out of problems. And it does that through interpretation, blocking you from seeing what's there and projecting what isn't there. That's interpretation. Therefore, the amount of interpretation that you do, again, not willingly, your problem has you don't have it. So the amount of interpretation you do can be markers for your spiritual development. In other words, you can mark human development, not just human, any soul at this stage of development, evolution. You can mark their stages of development based on how well they can participate in the spiritual journey. What's the spiritual journey? We just said it, intelligibility and providence. That there is a path and balloons, and you're getting guidance along that path. We can bring those two together in a word, logos. Therefore, the extent to which you can participate in the logos marks your spiritual development, in principle. Isn't that interesting? That's always true. It's not a matter of opinion or belief, although it does understand belief. That's the thing about understanding. You can understand belief, whereas belief can't grasp understanding. Isn't that interesting? And that's one of the tasks on the table for us as readers. Can we develop our own psychological hierarchy of human development, super important, marked on our ability to participate in our spiritual journey or the logos, defined by states of mind that are blocked or engaged in interpretation. And that's what we've been developing all the way through the book. By looking at how people respond to what Jesus taught and what Socrates taught, we have a long list of people who respond in many different ways, many different kinds of interpretation. Some terrible, some some pretty good, but they're all blocked from full participation. So that's our other task. Can we climb that ladder and engage in full participation in the logos? Socrates points out, by the way, here is the standard. So we've been looking at the standard of excellence we have for ourselves, and we would put at the top of that development. And all of the other people we've been collecting along the way, we can hierarchically arrange them as examples of stages of development based on how you respond to truth. Now, that's important for us individually as we go through that journey. It's important for our species if we care at all about other people and our human race, and I hope you do. But also it's important for us as philosophers who share truth with other people. If it was as simple as pointing out, hey, by the way, all problems are understandable and our highest excellence is understandable. Let's have fun. If it were that easy, well, we wouldn't be where we are right here. In fact, we wouldn't be human. Because the fact that we have reincarnated into this part of history tells us we have something we have to learn. Specifically, we are carrying a false belief about self and mind and understanding that blocks our development of understanding into the highest states of mind to ultimately go through and discover the self. The triad, self, mind, and understanding. We're carrying a false belief. We carried a false belief about it as a soul, causing our reincarnation, meaning our purpose as human beings is to recognize the injustice that plays out in our world, individually, collectively, as a species, learn the logos, and create the conditions for every single living human being to go through their purpose that they're here for, to go through what we do here on this channel. Learn how to read, learn how to discover the logos, learn the paradigm of the logos and its activity, the dialectic, have fun applying the dialectic to solving our problems, pathologos, and perfecting our excellence, logos, facilitating our highest experiences of mind and reality, and by using understanding upon our highest vision or our highest imagination, either one. There we go. There's our thinking and vision, our understanding and imagination or experience. Putting the two together, logos and ousia, to recognize that there must be a cause, the self. Contained within it an inherent logos, for it to give rise to the logos that we see in mind and in understanding and expressed in reality, and its distortion expressed in human problems or pathologos. So our job as philosophers is to share it, which means we better nail down that hierarchical list of development based on interpretation so we can recognize how people will respond to it. Because as I just said, if it was easy just telling the truth, then we wouldn't be in this mess. But the fact that we are in this mess might tell us something about our purpose. It might be the purpose for every single living being to learn how to make use of their own mind, the logos, to learn the dialectic. So if that is what follows from our reasoning and our ability to reflect on what's most meaningful because of this banger of a book, then we better share it with our friends. If we want suffering to stop, if we want the torture and abuse of the most vulnerable people by the people who've claimed the most power to stop, if we want injustice to stop, if we want to create a world where everybody can learn and have fun, then we have to share it. But also, we are here to do it ourselves. So whether or not the rest of the world gets on board, we can still do what we can with the time that we have here in doing our intended purposes ourselves. So that's where we are. Understanding the cause of human conflict and problems, understanding the difficulties that we will encounter as we climb up that ladder, because the more evolved will trigger the counter attacks from the less evolved. So too within our soul, the higher your insight or experience or understanding, the more likely it will trigger a pathologos counterattack within your own mind. But as we, develop and get better, our haters will become stupider and more violent and more cruel. Something we have to navigate. So, that's where we are. Let's jump in and keep reading. Let's jump in. Okay, let's go. So, of course, dreams, seeing the significance of dreams as the highest activity of dialectic, as a way of practicing how to read from what we learn here, as a way of uncovering the clues to solve within our midwifery about our pathologos, as our spiritual guide, as our providence, our participation in providence, and as a model for our own excellence. If we want to be the highest we can be, the best kind of dialectician, the best kind of artist, creating the kind of movies that our dreams make for us, the best kind of providential person, heart and head, then we have to see the significance of dreams, which would put that at the top of that list of development we've been talking about. So, different states of mind mark different stages of development. By the way, there's always have been a fear, because one of the root principles behind our pathologos block to the logos is a fear of that triad of self, a fear of understanding and learning. There's our functioning. Remember our triad that we use for the gods? Remember how we had Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes as the triad of our upward development or anagogic movement? Where's my pen? Here it is. What do you say, Emma?
Do a poggers.
Let's. Apollo, the activity of reading that we do here, that's the bottom corner of the triad. And its partner, slightly higher up, but still on the same level, Aphrodite, gives us the power. So when we read half of the episodes on this channel, we reflect on our reading to bring the pieces together. Seeing how the parts come in together as a whole allows us to see the beauty of it, allows us to apply it meaningfully in our lives, both of which inspire us to keep going or give us a power. Where's my... gives us power.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
And if without that, we'll be sad for you.
I ate a steak. I'm stupid. I'm drunk all the time, I'm just like you.
Hey, That wasn't very nice.
Disgusting. I'm so
That is
disgusted.
disgusting. So disgusted. So, activity and power. Apollo, the god that represents the principle of the logos, or that intelligibility that we can learn through reading and reflecting. That's the intelligibility. The fact that it can come together into a whole, that principle we mythologize with Aphrodite. There's our understanding and vision. There's our logos and ousia. There's our first spam of the day.
No, that's slop.
Slop.
The internet is all robots.
That's you, you're a robot,
It's a scam.
and you're doing a scam.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Like literally, dude.
And this is spam.
That's spam.
I
That's you.
hate to have to tell you this. That was fake. That was AI.
That was fake. And that was an AI spam. So, understanding and knowledge, activity and power, logos and ousia, understanding and imagination. See? The things that we make use of. What do we have that makes us different from cabbages and caterpillars? Language, logos, reasoning, and the ability to apply that to ourselves in a meaningful way where it all comes together. That's the principle of activity and power, Apollo and Aphrodite. But those two, when they function in their ideal ways, can give rise to its fullest flowering or hyparxis, our highest goal or our highest existence, which can then rule our soul, our society, our activity. Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes. Hermes represents the dialectic, and we're missing a C right there, so let's fix that. Dialectic. See? Now that triad of activity, power, and existence, you can apply to anything. And we apply that to the gods. In fact, when creating the 12 gods, they take this triad of existence, power, and activity and say, well, hang on a second, you could break it down even further. The principle of activity, like what we just described with Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes, is our activity anagogically, or our human activity that raises our development. So we could say that's the anagogic. So we could have a little mini triad here for activity. There's our Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes. But the principle of power has to be existing for there to be ousia, some psychic energy or intelligent energy in the universe. And so we could create the vivific gods, the ladies. And who are they? Are they on the board? We did cover them earlier in the text, so it must be on a different board. The ladies, anyway. Apollo's sister. What's her name? Athena? Not Athena. Anyway, let's not get into it now. It's earlier in the book. But the three ladies representing ousia, and there has to be some. By the way, there has to be something protecting these principles. That's our protective triad. The warriors, Ares, Athena, and Hera, maybe? Demeter. I can't remember. Anyway, there are three gods that represent protective triad, and our hyparxis, if the hyparxis is the top, we have that ruling triad of Hephaestus, which gives life to physical things, Poseidon, which governs the principles of ousia, intelligent life, and of course, we bring the two together to reach Zeus, who is the source. So our anagogic activity, Hermes, is to reach the dialectic, is to reach the source, to become Zeus ourselves. And of course, Zeus rules over everything. So there's our providential functioning. So we can wonder how Zeus might relate to the dream maker. So that principle of activity and power, or logos and ousia, we can recognize as what makes us humans. And as we make use of that, there are those who fear the excellence of their own understanding and reason, their own self-reflection and experience of mind, and their own freedom of self. There's our triad. So we can take this and say, hey, by the way, the threesome or triad of self, the free self, our highest state of mind, which is being or luminosity, and understanding, fits into this: activity, power, and existence. Oh, and the cause of human problems, if this is all defined by the logos, the pathologos is its shadow. There's no neutral. There's no, I'm not political. Nah, I'm not really into spirituality. Nah, I could give or take. I think everyone shouldn't be entitled to their belief. No. You're either in this pursuit or you are bound with a false image of yourself. You can't not have some idea of yourself. In your negative states of mind, you can't not be in a state of mind, and your negative activity. If you're alive, you're still doing stuff. It's just through belief and interpretation and projection. There's no middle ground. There's no both sidesing this. You're either in or you're stuck. So a triad of self, or a triad of pathologos self. Isn't that interesting that our problems is a reflection, a distorted reflection of our excellence? Isn't that neat? Isn't it neat that we can see that?
Absolutely gooped.
And if you don't, you'll be absolutely gooped.
Wrong. You're
Wrong?
so wrong.
Oh my God.
But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
Okay, so long as it's only sometimes. Because
I'm always good. And that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
the Oracle isn't wrong. She's always good. What? Wrong screen. There we go. So there's been a fear among those in the lower divisions towards those in the higher. So as we've just defined our higher excellence, our goal, with that threesome of self, those we can understand that there is a fear of those three aspects in those who are most blocked. Now, if the three aspects of the self that are negative are defined by the pathologos, and the excellence, the logos, we could say the biggest thing people fear is the logos. Isn't that interesting? What do fascists do? Shut down universities because they don't like thinkers. What does Fox News do? Constantly lie because they don't want you to have truth. What do the billionaires do? Keep you unnecessarily impoverished so you don't have time to reason and think. What do the politicians do? Create unnecessary wars, preventing the conditions for reflection and understanding. It's a fear of the logos, or a fear of mind, or a fear of freedom of self, or a fear of what it takes to go through that process of new learning and challenging your old upbringing. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? I think it's very interesting.
Wrong. You're
Wrong.
you sick fuck.
Oh my goodness.
First you're saying the F word or whatever you said. Now the tone is completely out of control.
That tone was completely out of control. Calm down.
You're a baby. You're a little baby.
You're a little baby.
Be a reasonable gooner.
Okay, that's good. You can be a reasonable gooner and you'll be okay. So there's always been a fear of those in the lower divisions towards those in the higher, and most so towards the highest. So we're struggling. What is behind man's struggles to flourish and survive? Notice both. Survive, purify our pathologos, flourish, perfect our logos. It's simply a struggle over what state of mind will flourish and what won't. So it's a war for and against states of mind. The consequences play out within the family, the city, and the cosmos itself. Each of those states of mind have an image that you can identify with. So there's our connection from our mind to self that attracts some and repels others. I'm a MAGA. MAGA is an image. That image is tied to certain racist and sexist and ignorant and anti-intellectual states of mind. Right? It's an image. You wear a red hat. You have a pickup truck that's unnecessarily big. And you do harm to others because you enjoy suffering, owning the libs. Right? You say you've got a right to have guns to intimidate others, but you lie and say it's to stop tyranny, because when tyranny happens, you say, oh, do as you're told, otherwise you will get shot, as we see happening in America. So, an image are tied to the states of mind. Each of the players individual in these divisions find ways to justify their positions and vindicate their actions. Only those who seek excellence are actually learning. In other words, you're curious, you're looking for a reason, you're using analogies, you're talking with your friends, you're finding the best people to reflect with, so that you can learn new things. People stuck in their problems can't learn. Therefore, their activity isn't, so the pathologos activity isn't Apollo or the logos. That Apollo would be the logos activity to reach that state of mind, the logos of pure intelligence, mind. Not the logos activity. It's the pathologos activity is to find ways of justifying the false beliefs you already carry. That's debate. That's Ben Shapiro. That's Fox News. No learning ever. It's just to justify the ignorant opinions you already carry and to vindicate your negative state of mind. Justify it. I was right to be racist all along. Look at those Somalians that one racist Mormon guy found was doing a crime. Ignore the fact that they were directed by some white lady who was overseeing the whole. In the time of recording, there's some racist Mormon kid who went to the White House to say, look, the Somalian daycare people are doing crimes. But it was actually a white woman in charge, and they ignored that. And actually they were just doing that because of the oppressive systems of laws that prevented money unless you claimed that XYZ. So they were trying to find a way of giving healthcare to everyone. But let's ignore that. Because that would require using evidence and reason. That's the logos. They're not looking for that. They're looking for ways to justify their ignorant racist states of mind. And that's how human beings function in our problem. So there we go. There's our excellence. So this kind of reflection gives you what your ideal is. Hey, seek the logos. In an open state of mind, curious, seeking your highest state of mind. And anything that blocks the logos, take notes to reflect on so you can eventually see through it and purify yourself. Any negative states of mind that gets in the way, same. That's our excellence. It's just that simple. But also we can understand human problems. It's the same thing, but distorted. Human problems is an activity that opposes the logos to justify the pathologos beliefs they carry. It's not an open, curious mind. It's usually a smug and cruel, Dunning-Kruger state of mind, justified in your own ignorance, looking for a vindication of your own way of being. See? Just one triad. In fact, we have that on the board from a few episodes ago. A way of understanding human problems with one triad. Human problems and human excellence. The nature of human conflict. There are 4 maps. The logos and the states of mind of that triad in our development of the logos. That's the hypotheses of Parmenides and the oxiding pictures. There's our own that we are going to do for based on the pathologos, how blocked you are. But 3 elements of conflict: the limited idea of the self, the negative states of mind, and the interpretation of belief, defined by the pathologos triad. Our excellence is intelligent and caring or providential functioning of understanding through the art of the dialectic. There's our Apollo or activity. The highest, brilliant, pure being state of mind. There's our Aphrodite, leading to the free true self. There's our triad of self. 3 elements to understand our excellence in our problems. 2 categories, logos and pathologos. 1 line to move in our evolution, or to understand the conflict. And 1 art to master that allows for that movement, giving us a single function or purpose of man to unify our soul according to that unification of soul and the state of mind that eventuates from it. Being in the zone is called justice, and the activity is dialectic. So we've already got that. So hooray for us.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave.
You are crossing into new boundaries.
We are brave and crossing into new boundaries. Aren't we, RM?
These absolute dullards, borderline
No.
chimps who
Never.
want to kiss a fox.
Maybe.
You sick fuck.
Oh my goodness. So, justify their positions, vindicate their actions. A new idea coming into society may upset the power structures and the stability of the life of many who have organized their life around their own way of being and injustice. So learning and mastering how to take advantage of the changes directly affects the positions of honor and power within the systems of society and within the soul. So if we necessarily have to move from pathologos to logos to save our society, to save our species, to put an end to torture and abuse and injustice that we are tolerating, then get to learning, because the best you can learn how to take advantage of the dialectic and logos to benefit everyone, the greater your position of honor and power within the world. So, subscribe to the channel. But also within the soul. More importantly, you will benefit your soul. Oh my goodness. I told myself I would ignore my eyelash. For benefits are distributed according to positions of power. A sense of stability comes within a system. So it comes with identifying with the system so that when it's challenged, it may be defended furiously. Power holders always defend the status quo, and chief among them are the billionaires, the oligarchs, or the powerful moneyed interests. So we have to be aware of the powerful moneyed interests that want to maintain systems of inequality and injustice to defend a system because they think they benefit from it in the short term, and they will defend it furiously. The most ancient of truths are always new to those loyal to interpretation of the old. Every interpretation is an attempt to save the old and preserve some advantage. So we can even apply that to understanding our own pathologos. Don't feel bad that you carry a pathologos, but recognize that it was a learning that you went through to gain some sort of advantage within the house you grew up in. In other words, as we are seeing, it's the oligarchs, it's the politicians, it's the religious ruling class that maintain a system of injustice and inequality so they can have a position of power to exploit for, again, sadism and profit. As a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, you had that in your house, only it was the same people, your parental figures, who were the kings and the clergy and the CEOs of your house. So in order to survive, you came to a certain conclusion to survive that upbringing. So every problem is a kind of solution that no longer applies. Very important, because this is not a blame game. Every interpretation is an attempt to save the old to preserve some advantage. what is new is often only new to those whose vision has been blocked. So we are looking at the map of how to unblock our vision and uninterpret. Or purify, get rid of interpretation. When a new idea offers a fundamental change in the power structure, the struggle becomes intense. And when the new idea argues that its truth overcomes past privilege, then the struggle becomes a life and death issue. Behind it all is a fear of mind. Hey, all we have to do is embrace mind. No, we can't. We have to have a billionaire class and a religious authority class, and we have to have the Epstein oligarchs doing their terrible, disgusting shit because we can't be free. You're all crazy, because I'm crazy. A fear of mind. The possibility that a rational order is superior to all others forces a re-examination of our entire culture. Therefore, logos and ousia, that's what makes us evolved beings. That's what we make use of in the dialectic, but also within society. Logos, a rational order. Logos, understanding, forces a reflection, ousia, of our culture. Yes, we are supposed to do this. Trust in mind. You don't even have to trust. Understand mind, and you'll see it's worth developing a rational order as opposed to irrational, cruel, harmful ignorance. And it's worth reflecting on our culture than just sticking your head in the sand and saying everything is fine. It's worth doing, and we learn in that way. The pull to oppose the new and resist change is a fundamental conservative impulse. That's the definition of the conservative or right-wing party. As looking forward to meaningful change is an opposite movement. Therefore, the true political party would be, how do we look forward to meaningful change, installing a rational, ordered system that requires self-reflection as a species to move towards freedom of self, higher states of mind, the development of understanding, putting an end to child abuse through all of the belief-based sick traditions. That's what progressivism would be. Oh no, but I like being a Nazi. Who gives a fuck? It's bad. Oh no, but I like my religion. It's all the other religions that are all child abuse. Really? This is called growing up. So, a definition of what the left wing should be, or what the one true political party should be, just as there's one mechanic, there's no doctors that have my own personal belief that medicine should harm people. No, that's not a doctor. You're a fucking sadist. You do not get the job. Meaningful change in a way that develops our society towards rational order, higher states of mind, freedom of self, or that triad of logos self, while also creating the conditions to reflect on our problems. So a true idea of justice, not punishing people for being a human being, but creating the conditions for learning. Now, I heard somebody say recently that it's the most ignorant, harmful, closed-minded people that hate learning. It would be punishment for them, but the best people love learning. So the same single activity of dialectic or justice heals people, and might be a big struggle for those who are acting most harmfully, but good. Isn't that what is behind punishment? Is that why we punish criminals? They have to go through something to compensate for the pain they inflicted? No, of course, most crime is based on wealth inequality, so that's stupid to begin with, but this is the kind of activity that will benefit them and society, because we can learn what conditions or causes gave rise to these negative ways of being, but also it's our job as a species to give rise to all of the family clan beliefs that opposes our rational way of being and development along the logos. What kind of species can be invited to the Galactical Alliance if they oppose fucking reason? If they oppose solving fucking problems? If they want to hurt people and act cruelly because of their ignorance and short-sightedness, why the fuck would they be entered into the galactic alliance within the cosmos? Meaning, learning and reflection, logos and ousia, is needed and would be the punishment of the bad, but also the reward of the good. It's the most fun to learn about what caused your problems and free yourself from it, to become more free. It's only those who fear their freedom because of their indoctrination and their upbringing, who fear their higher state of mind because of their fear and indoctrination, and fear learning because that was beaten out of them too. But those who are better would love to learn, would love to have better states of mind, would love to be free. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
But those most ignorant will resist the meaningful change. So how do we show that one is true and one is false? The proposal is which benefits the growth and development of the soul. So our understanding of these maps that we've been talking about, objective, verifiable, is needed to say, hey, this is the logos. It's always true. Just as, hey, this is an engine. That's how it always will work. And if you put the gasket there, you benefit the engine. Just like if you allow this for the development of the soul, it will benefit the growth and development of a soul. Not only that, the logos, or the logos party, or the progressive party, or whatever. We can say the logos party, or the dianoia party, understanding party. Not only is this rational order and reflection necessary for growth and development within our species and individual souls, it reflects a higher truth. The principles that we got this from exist on a higher plane of existence, mind. So, when it can be demonstrated that one is true, because that's what truth is, it's not a many, it's a one, and reflects a higher truth, capital T, of self and mind, source, then the issues become critical. The struggle over truth. In the struggle over truth, it becomes necessary to say which of these comes closest to revealing and making intelligible. How are you handsome? Hooray! That's me. That's me.
You sick fuck.
Oh my goodness. That's not me.
I've been a bad little girl.
Emma's being bad girl. When's the marriage? Who am I marrying?
I'm sorry that you have a loser mentality about progress and you think that there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh my goodness. I hope my loser mentality about progress doesn't make me oppose marriage.
Gooners.
Gooners? Oh, Emma. Emma already got married.
I've been a bad little girl.
She's bad for getting married to someone else.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
See?
Jester goon maxed.
She should have been Jester goon maxed. Have you heard about this?
Gooner bait.
Have you been watching Gooner bait?
I'm just asking for some gooner men's skin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
Just seems fair.
You just attacked my person. You just harmed my body.
You can be a gooner.
You can be a gooner. What's gooner mean? I'm not going to tell you that. Oh my goodness. Being a gooner means...
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
It means everybody should love sluts. That's all I will say. Someone said skateboard trick. No. Oh, there is a skateboard trick that sounds like gooner. Gainer. No, not a gainer. It's a gooner.
You can be a gooner.
You can be a gooner.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
For cute Emma.
Be a reasonable gooner.
So long as you're a reasonable gooner. Gooner, it's about goon maxing.
Jester goon maxed.
Just goon maxed. Oh,
Debate
nuts.
weirdo.
Don't be a debate weirdo. Be a Jester goon maxer. So, when we can reveal these truths about what benefits and develops the soul and reflects the principles of a higher truth, the issue becomes critical. And one can confirm what we have explored through a process of reasoning through words. That's our understanding. That's this whole episode so far. And appealing to the kind of experience that comes along with an encounter with intelligence. Reasoning through words, dialectic or logos, appealing to our highest experience of mind, ousia. There's our mind and understanding, or there we go, back to our triad. I'm still sick. Oh no, I haven't gotten to streak a lot because I sound and look like a frog. Streak.
I'm just asking for some Gunnar men skin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
Stream, not streak. I'm not a nudist. Oh my goodness.
Debate, weirdo.
Wrong. Be a reasonable Gunnar.
If you're a nudist, be a reasonable Gunnar. Speaking of reasoning through words, there's our activity, and appealing to the highest kind of experience, there's our mind or ousia or power, Apollo and Aphrodite. That's how we get there. That's how we confirm everything that we've come to see. And the case we make for what the left wing or the progressive party should be, or the one true political party should be, the direction for our species, the way of governing your own soul, all of that we can verify for ourselves through reasoning through words and appealing to that higher principle of truth for the highest experience we can have. But hang on a second, what about this guy? What about the self? Covered here as well. One can confirm what we have explored through a process of reasoning through words and appealing to the highest experience that comes along with an encounter with intelligence. Wow. Wow. When reasoning brings with it... Stop spamming emotes. No. No. Hang on. Pause. So we can develop maps of the logos. The logos is the understandability of our reality. As we perfect our logos, we can develop our understanding. We can have stages of perfecting our understanding. And accompanying that is our states of mind. So we can have a map of all the different states of mind humans can go through as they reach their ideal. But another way of looking at it is we can have two more maps based on our pathologos, our false idea of. So while our logos has a true idea of self, our highest state of mind, and our highest functioning most caringly through the dialectic, each of them as the logos. So understanding is following the logos in time. Our highest experience of pure bliss, our mind turning around to know itself, we have to recognize as ourselves, meaning we have to recognize the inherent understandability of our own consciousness, because it's also the map for understanding. Understanding is playing out the logos of pure mind or intelligence through time. And knowledge, that's understanding. Knowledge is knowing it all at once. But bringing the two together, we can realize, hang on a second, there must be a cause for both of them. That's the self. So recognizing the inherent logos of self. That development through understanding is called the hypotheses of Parmenides. All of the possible hypotheses or ways of thinking that you can develop, what it feels like to go through that map are the ox herding pictures of Buddhism. So that's our excellence. But we have a problem. Human beings don't just do that. We are blocked. We have a loyalty because of our upbringing to a pathologos version. So while that triad of the self is based on the logos, and we're here to perfect it, logos perfection, we have to purify the thing that causes our problems. The problems in your relationships, the problems in your everyday life, the problems in your fantasies and daydreams, the problems that you play out in your night dreams. Every problem is understandable as simply the negative or pathologos version of that triad of self. People fear understanding or the functioning part of the logos, and instead stay trapped in their belief or interpretation. Instead of seeing what's there and following the reason and reflection, they instead, let's get rid of that. They instead interpretation from belief. That's the cause of our problems. We interpret or project. We project what isn't there and we leave out what is there. That's called interpretation, keeping us trapped in belief. Now, as we do that, it's because we're attached to a certain state of mind. Ever notice that people have different states of mind? Ever met a loud, crazy Italian woman? Ever met a quiet, humble, doesn't say enough Japanese woman? Ever met a MAGA racist, loud, stupid? Different states of mind that result in different kinds of interpretation. So a certain state of mind that we're attached to, that's linked to our idea of self. So we are carrying a limited, blocked, false idea of self that we identify with. It's something we learned. It's something we don't even know we have, but we can recognize its existence in our negative states of mind. But again, those states of mind seem normal for us and normal for my friend circle and my religious group and my family group. But we can recognize that they're actually bad when we can see how we're blocked from our problems. When we're blocked by our problems, when we're blocked from our goals, we can recognize that we are functioning in a negative way, interpretation. We're not reading what's there to be read. We're not doing our highest activity. We're not pursuing our highest goal. We're doing some sort of interpretation that blocks understanding. So we can trace it back to our negative states of mind that block our highest experience of mind or pure intelligence. And we can hypothesize, again, put understanding and experience together and hypothesize there must be an image of self behind it that's its cause. Just as in our highest goal, as we perfect our understanding through the dialectic and reading, as we have higher and higher states of mind, culminating in the higher states of mind, we can understand even that state of mind and hypothesize that there must be a cause, a self beyond experience. If this is the highest experience, it has to be beyond experience. Therefore, only through this kind of understanding can you reach your ultimate goal, the self. Therefore, there's only one way of living in society, one way of being for humanity, one political party that does this uses this to create laws and policies and societal conditions for this to happen. One spiritual purpose, one spiritual method, because only through understanding applied to that highest vision of reality, the logos seen within the highest experience of intelligence, can you posit the self? Because it's beyond experience. You can't imagine a greater experience. But you can understand that experience, understand it was beautiful, it was real, you knew yourself, so there was some sort of intelligence, you turned around upon yourself, so some sort of ousia. That's metaphysics, that's true philosophy, understanding the aspects of this state of mind to recognize, to perfect your understanding in the physical world, to better help people reach truth and justice, but also understanding that it has these aspects or eidos leads you to the conclusion there must be a self behind it. Just like in surfacing your problems, you have to first recognize your blocks caused by interpretation. So first of all, you have to be seeking this. If you don't seek your highest goals, you won't surface your problems. Then you'll notice that, hang on a second, something blocking me from learning understanding. Some sort of interpretation that causes my repeating cycles of problems. There's a certain state of mind I was in when I functioned that way. There's our triad. State of mind or power or Aphrodite, and our functioning or logos or Apollo. There's a certain state of mind that caused that negative functioning. And then we infer from that what our idea of self must be. That's at the root of it. Meaning, 3 parts to understand our excellence, 3 parts to understand all human problems. This plays out within our individual soul and family, plays out within the city, and also we're wondering about how this might be playing out within the cosmos. 3 parts to represent all problems and excellence, 2 divisions, logos and pathologos, 1 movement that we are here to make as human beings across this line, from belief to understanding, and 1 art to rule them all, 1 ring to rule them all. Remember?
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Gandalf is looking for someone to be a wizard, Harry, for the 1 ring to rule them all, 1 art to master. As a single function or a purpose for all humans that can unify our soul, a standard of justice for our individual soul, a standard of justice for our society, and a standard politics and spirituality, and a standard of justice for our species within the cosmos. And that is the dialectic. The method of purifying our pathologos, negative triad, and fear of the true triad, and perfecting our logos and mastery of that higher triad. So 3, 2, 1. 3 aspects of self, or it's 2 expressions of it, logos and pathologos, 1 art to master. 3, 2, 1. But just as we have the hypotheses of Parmenides to talk about our development of understanding towards the ideal, and the ox herding pictures to talk about what it feels like, Socrates is saying, you, readers of this book, followers of this stream, do the same thing for the pathologos. Create a pathologos model of understanding, not based on the logos, but based on interpretation. The different ways human beings interpret truth. They don't listen, they don't read. They pretend to be a follower, but actually they're holding on to their old beliefs. They only take a piece of the new truth. They pretend to speak for the truth when really they're defending their old beliefs. These are all ways of interpreting. All the ways people can interpret, but also how does it feel to go through the different states of mind as you go from the worst kind of interpretation, better, until you reach your ideal. Therefore, just as we have a map of the logos in the hypotheses of Parmenides, the map of states of mind in the ox herding pictures, you, the reader, the viewer, us, can create a similar map of interpretation instead of understanding, the negative, the pathologos, and a map of states of mind associated to them, giving us 4 possible maps of human development that we need to understand the human condition, which is expressed in 3 aspects, 2 expressions, and 1 art. 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. That's what we're doing today, to answer your question. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, as we make this case, those who are most loyal to their problems will fight back against it. And that map of development, those who are down the bottom will be most angry and vicious and savage and sadistic and fucked in the head.
You know what? Suck my dick.
and they can do that, against the people who are higher up the list and most so towards the ideal. Within their soul, the same thing. Within society, the same thing. So we have to understand that this is the case. The Epstein oligarchs will fight back against truth and equality and fun and solving human problems, rationality. Just as if you have an insight about yourself, your pathologos will fight back and say, no, give it up. You can't do that. You are a small bean. You are a bad noodle. Universal principle. Any galaxy, any species, any time. That's the kind of learning that we do here. Universal. But as we make the case that this is true, we have to show this is the one truth in principle, by definition, because it benefits the growth and development of the soul through those four maps. And those four maps apply to not just the development of soul, but reflect a higher truth of self and reality. That's the standard. That's how we win. To make intelligible through words, with reference to our highest experience, this principle of truth that's knowable in mind and in self in the highest possible way, but is experienced through time in the development of souls. But as we introduce a new truth, there is counterattack from the old. Our purpose as human beings is to develop the new and surface all of the possible racist, sexist, chauvinistic, torturous, Epstein bullshit beliefs and family clan traditions that oppose the new and the new development towards the new truth. That's our job, to perfect the new and purify the old, as it is for us individually, as it is for us as a species. So Socrates is saying, hey, by the way, that's how we show this. By reasoning through words, by appealing to the highest experience. By the way, when you apply that reasoning to that highest experience, when you solve these puzzles that we have been solving, it can lead to a quiet state of mind that is freed from even states of mind, allowing seeing to turn around and see itself. That's where we are in the text. The struggle over truth, it becomes necessary to say which of these comes closest to revealing and making intelligible the truth of these ideas being contested. One can confirm what we have explored through a process of A, reasoning through words, Apollo, and B, appealing to the highest kind of experience that comes along with an encounter of pure intelligence, Aphrodite. But when you put the two together, when reasoning, notice reasoning is the method, brings with it a quietness of the mind, even that mind, and one can drop away everything to see what it is that sees, then it is then that sight opens itself up to itself, the self. There's our hypaxis, or fullest flowering. Reasoning through words, the highest experience of mind, but when reasoning goes through that to bring a quietness of mind, seeing is there now able to see what is seeing. Or sight opens itself up to see itself. That's the self. That's our goal. Pretty neat. 3, 2, 1, and then the self. Let's keep reading. Let's have a drop.
People don't logic their way into personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix.
Because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change.
Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I? Who am I? Am I? Am I? Am I? Am I? Am I?
So we're personality maxing. You've heard of goon maxing or goon jester maxing.
Jester goon maxed.
That's personality maxing. Freeing yourself from that image or character you've identified with to go through that process we've just described to know the self. Howie for time. What? Okay, I think we're good for a little bit longer. So let's read a little bit more. Ooh, it's taken us all week, but we're finally reading ahead. Because fuck me, look, how good is what we've just read? How important is what we just read? Worth spending a week reflecting on, I think. So Jesus comes in and says, yes to that. Oh, what did Socrates say? When reasoning brings with it a quietness of the mind, and one can drop away everything to see what sees, then it is then that sight opens itself up to itself, the self. Equally, the drowning of oneself in empty phrases breeds chaos. And Jesus comes in. Yes to that, and much more needs to be said. Behind the fear of the mind lies another threat. That periodically sweeps across the land, bringing death. Oi! Behind the fear of mind lies another threat that periodically sweeps across the land, bringing death and destruction along with it. These are the times when the literalists gain power. Whoops. Right, what the Greeks called the barbarians. What we've been doing today is using Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes, or Zeus, to make it easier to bring together all these principles. Like we talked about, whoops, oh crap. Hang on. Jesus, here we go. The functioning of the self. We talked about understanding. We've talked about reasoning. We've talked about reading. We've talked about logos. Apollo. We've talked about how our reading can be brought together into a whole. That can be beautiful. That you can apply to your life so it's meaningful. How that beauty and meaning can inspire you. Aphrodite. Understanding and mind can bring a movement even to a quieting of mind to see what's seeing. Zeus, to know the self. Bringing with it, going through this method, the functioning of Zeus, the dialectic, Zeus and Hermes. See how we take these many ideas and can bring them into a oneness for us to remember and have fun talking about and having fun creating analogies with. That's what theology is. It ain't literal. It's a metaphor or analogy or myth or personification of these principles, so we can remember them and talk about them. The Greeks called barbarians those who take it literally, like there's actually a god called Apollo in the sky throwing arrows, shooting arrows. Like those that are manipulated by belief, the religious literalists. Savages, barbarians they were called. When they are in power, says Jesus, then they bring death and destruction. They cannot stand higher truths beyond their reach, nor do they have, they cannot stand truths beyond their reach. They're blocked from the Logos and they get pissed about it. Nor do they have any desire to make up for their shortcomings. They don't desire learning. You need to develop a good heart and good head. They don't give a shit. They want to be a Jew that kills Palestinians, a Christian that kills Protestants, a Catholic that kills Muslims, or whatever the fuck, a MAGA that kills immigrants. They don't care about being better. Because they've been growing up with literalism. No analogies, no metaphors, no reasoning about higher truths, no bringing the many to a one. It's all division, it's all many, us versus them. They believe that they already have the truth, see? They believe they already have the truth and will destroy whatever stands in their way. Yup. When they seize control of any of these divisions, they reduce it to what they can understand and they fucking burn the rest. Do they what? When they seize control of any of these systems of power, they reduce it to what they can understand and they burn the rest. Literalism. They have been exposed only to the drama of belief and the fear of and perils of non-belief. See, it's worth reviewing everything we've said. The 4, 3, 2, 1, well, the 4 maps, the 3 aspects of self, the 2 divisions, understanding and belief, logos and pathologos, 1 method, the dialectic. So the literalists, what did he just say? All they know is the drama of belief, living out the drama of this bullshit, the drama of their family, the drama of them against the Mormons up the street or the Muslims down the road, the drama of blah, 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 MAGA against whatever. And a fear of the supposed perils of this. This is the 4th hypothesis of Parmenides, belief. Understanding is the 3rd, pure consciousness is the 2nd, the one self is the 1st. They fear non-belief. Again, they had to learn this as little children. It's not a blame game, but they did learn it, and they are functioning through it. A loyalty to literalism and belief, and a fear of non-belief and the logos. So they've only been exposed only to the drama of belief and the fear and perils of non-belief. They cannot stand to view what they take as true and subject it to analysis. They can't stand ousia and logos, reflect on what they believe. They hold fast to the literal reading that supports their belief. Remember earlier, their use of reasoning isn't to learn, but is to, justify their positions and vindicate their actions. See, Jesus is breaking down specifically the nature of those that inflict suffering upon humanity and themselves and their children. They hold fast to their... How are we going for time? I think we're good. They hold fast to their literal reading that supports their belief, yet these beliefs are claims that need to be examined. Therefore, that's our society, that's our life, that's how we should spend our waking hours, examining the beliefs that we carry. Well, it's easy to see with the most ignorant, savage literalists of whatever belief, we also have to apply that same principle to ourselves. Seek our highest goals, that triad of self, this kind of reading, dream analysis especially, and examine our blocks that come up, the beliefs behind them, the states of mind behind them, and ultimately the false belief and image of the self. So we can personality max.
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
Examine those beliefs. Surely there is one standard to examine the truth. We like this. One, that sounds like truth. There's only one standard to examine the truth of any spiritual and philosophical truth. 3, 2, 1. Now, we posited it was the dialectic. Let's keep reading. Whatever claim is being made as true needs to be demonstrated. Demonstration, one of the 4 categories of the dialectic, by a reasoned reflection and confirmed in experience. Reasoned reflection, Apollo. Confirmed in experience, Aphrodite. By those whose primary interest is the love of wisdom. Balanced by their experience of the intelligence. Interesting. Love of wisdom. Now, we've been talking about love of understanding, philodianoia, as the better way of putting it. Because we've been talking about wisdom as wisdom as if this is the activity of understanding in mind, the activity or logos, understanding, the knowing it as once, or the model, having the two together is wisdom. Fine. You have to demonstrate by reasoning. There's your understanding or dialectic. Confirm it in experience. There's your understanding and knowing. Therefore, you won't be seeking that unless you love wisdom, which is the direct experience along with the understanding of said experience. Staying in it as long as you can, so you can wiggle your toes, do a little bit of looking around. Use it as the model for the activity of understanding. The dialectic, we ask questions about justice and beauty, and in using the dialectic to purify our ignorance, we compare the truth about wisdom to the appearance of wisdom or strength or beauty or knowingness from the early teachers. So the experience of the intelligence, the reason, reflection, but hey, we want to have the wisdom of self as well, so we want to go beyond. Because even that wisdom has a cause, or has some self that is seeing that experience of wisdom. Let's go back. Although Jesus is the one saying love of wisdom, and we know that Jesus has had this divine luminosity experience, but every time Socrates talks about the ultimate, if that's the penultimate is the luminosity or mind, going back to our threesome of self, the greatest state of mind is divine luminosity, understanding which comes from that and leads to it and should be applied to it to perfect it. That's wisdom. When Socrates says, hey, by the way, that's only the second hypothesis or the 8th oxiding picture. What about its source that I just mentioned? Sight seeing itself as self. Jesus has not been open to that yet. So it's interesting that he is... It's interesting that he is saying that only those who seek their highest goal of wisdom, love of wisdom, not opinions, that's philodoxia, not academic philosophy, that's philodoxia. That's below the line. That's these bros down here. So you have to desire. There have to be some Aphrodite, some motivation. Oh no, wait, it's not. It is Jesus saying it, but then Jesus is here. Okay, so Jesus is replying to Jesus. True, and the way we have been exploring these ideas would be a good model for that very task. Yes. Jesus is saying this stream is the best stream.
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
He's saying we are good all the time. So the way that we've been exploring these ideas would be a good model for that very task. Our way of proceeding through these divisions has made the task simpler and clarified much as we went along. The divisions, what do we say? We have to define truth for ourselves and for our species. We have to demonstrate it through reason, reflection, confirmed in experience. You have to be seeking wisdom and also want to experience it too. So, definition, demonstration. All of the divisions that we've gone through in this book, in this reasoning process. Definition, demonstration, division. They're following a dialectic. D, 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 and C. Conclusion is the fourth category. Definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. That's the dialectic. See, we're seeing that the author or the dialogue itself is following the dialectic. That's why it's so fucking kick-ass. So rational. Why it leads to truth. Why we can follow along. The dialogue is being guided through the dialectic by a master of the dialectic. Our way of proceeding, dialectic, through these divisions have made the task simpler and clarified much as we went along. Oh my god, it's almost 2 in the morning. Why am I not getting any notifications? Okay. I'm just gonna... Okay, isn't that interesting? Let's So Socrates just comes in and says, we have seen how these divisions we have made break down to their corresponding ideas. Have we not seen that with introduction of a new philosophical idea, we can find those who accept it as it is, and those who reject it, those who offer alternative systems of belief to the teaching, and those who adapt the new to their own beliefs. He's giving us 4 categories. He's helping us out a lot right here in breaking down that map that we had to develop based on interpretation of new truth. He's giving us 4 categories right after Jesus said, hey, we followed 4 categories of the dialectic to help in our reasoning process to this conclusion. How the hell are we supposed to create a system or map for interpretation? He's helping us. Hey, you'll get those who accept it. That would be category 1. Those who reject it, 2. Those who have alternative systems of belief to the teaching, and those who offer alternative systems of belief, and those who adapt the new to their own. By the way, that sounds like the patchwork of a coat, taking a patch of the new onto your old coat to patch up your old coat. Shall we call those who see a fundamental philosophical unity between the old and the new another division? Okay, so we've got more than 4. Let's keep going. These are the ones that could see behind the parables a logos that unfolds the intelligible. So behind the parables, behind the analogies Jesus used, is the logos, kind of like what Dionysius was trying to share with people. Behind the parables, there is a logos that unfolds the intelligible. Actually, then, we could say that these divisions are phases of one search for meaning. Interesting. Phases every living being or self as a whole, as a one, goes through as we seek meaning. Apollo, through the logos. Apollo, the stages of understanding. Seeking meaning, Aphrodite. The conclusions need to be verified in one's own experience and contemplated as the unfolding of the logos. Once again, you experience it for yourself. There's your ousia, and you contemplate it through the logos. There's your ousia and logos, or vision and understanding, or Aphrodite and Apollo. All the way through. Just two forces. Vision, states of mind, experience, and understanding or logos. It's just two things. Applied to the highest. The highest vision or state of mind, the highest use of understanding, and by the way, putting the two together, you can postulate, hey, there's something that is seeing that whole game unfold. There is something going through those stages, watching the unfolding of those stages, going through those stages, and that's our final Apollo, Aphrodite, and Zeus, or Hermes being able to function through it. Unfolding of the logos, or developing of the logos, verified in direct experience, including the highest state of mind, and then eventually, even in understanding that, you can bring a quietude to mind that allows sight to see itself as self. That's the game. All of our problems is just a progression through the divisions of that single game towards that single ideal, based on how loyal we are to our beliefs, how loyal we are to our beliefs that cause interpretation, negative states of mind, and how loyal we are to our false image of ourselves, and how much we fear the logos, how much we fear understanding good states of mind and freedom of self. So as our movement from the pathologos to the logos, or from the negative triad of self to the true triad of self, or from belief to understanding, we go through stages in our seeking of meaning, experienced as better states of mind, confirmed through understanding, and recognizing that all of this is the unfolding and the returning through the logos. 3, 2, and 1. Purpose and art to master the dialectic. 3, 2, 1. Oh, and 4 maps if you want to include the map that we are adding to the hypotheses of Parmenides, the oxiding pictures of Buddhism. We're creating our map of interpretation and how it feels. Or logos and ousia. See? 2 things, logos and ousia. 4 maps based on either the logos and ousia of logos, the logos and ousia of purifying our pathologos, and it's the one art for all of them. 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, we've read a little bit more, but thank goodness we spent so much time reflecting on it the way that we've done it, because we're building on what we're going through, building on what we've seen already. So fantastic stuff, awesome stuff. I hope you had a good time, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for joining me.